we live in a society that pushes us towards burnout, that it's such a common thing that pretty much everyone has been through it once or twice or three times. And but what is, I think, the good news right now is that we can start stopping the cycle and we can start making shifts right now. And I love that we're having this conversation at the beginning of the year where lots of people already may be in this new year, new me, let's make 2026 the best year yet. And I'm gonna break free and I'm gonna, come out of this cycle and I'm gonna be happier and healthier and live to the fullest. Or we may have the people who are like, I'm done with this. I have no New Year's resolutions. I just can't be bothered. I'm just gonna cruise and kind of like try to just survive, who almost have given up on trying. What would you say to women on kind of both ends? The ones who are starting with like, yes, 1st of January, I started new journaling challenge, new yoga challenge. I have goals. I'm gonna really like smash this year and it's gonna be epic. But also to those who are like, who cares? New year, whatever. I'm done. I'm tired. I can't. I just want to quit and cuddle under a blanket. And obviously, there is a little bit of the wintering still happening in the northern hemisphere, which is fine. Not everyone has to be like, let's go. But there still, with so many people, there's so much of the hibernation of like, I'm giving up, dread kind of a thing. And I think there are slightly different types of challenges, but I would be curious how we would approach these two types of clients coming your way right now. When like, I know that burnout is the cause, but I'm either
Mhm.
in the overly motivated, I'm just gonna power through it, I'm gonna just make burnout my bitch, or I'm gonna just like, I'm not gonna do anything about it. I'm just gonna, you know, chill on a sofa and sleep, and I'm just gonna just hide.
Honestly, it's the same answer for both of them, but for slightly different reasons. It's really through those micro shifts because with that person who's like, I'm going to go, I'm going to get it, I'm going to get everything, I'm going to be this, this year is going to be my year, and they're pumped and they're excited and they're ready to go. That energy doesn't last. Sadly, it doesn't. And consistency is through showing up through the good and the bad. It's, showing up when I'm at 100%. It's showing up when I'm at 20%. And so I try to work with people on giving themselves grace, working with little adjustments, little shifts here and there. We don't dive in head first and expect everything to change in a day. It's, the compounded interest that builds with doing a small thing every single day. And so I don't ask my clients to wake up an hour early and meditate and go for a walk and do their journaling and their mindfulness and all this stuff. That to me is just way too much noise. It's too much crap and it's not sustainable when things get hard. But for me, what works for me is I wake up in the morning, I do a light workout, and then shower and stuff, get my kids up, and then I do some journaling. But it's not an hour. It's not high intensive. And some days I don't do as well as others. Some days I don't get up for the workout. Like I've been having the migraines lately. So I don't get up for the workout. And it's hard to not get down on yourself sometimes. But you have to give yourself some grace, step back a little bit and go, okay, I'm human. I'm human. I'm doing the best I can today. Today, I may only be at 20%. So, what can I accomplish today at 20% that I will be thankful for 6 months from now or a year from now? Versus, so many New Year's resolutions are done by February. People fall off of them and just don't continue on. And so I really try to focus on those little shifts. And then the same for that person who is just done. They're fed up, they're over it, and they're done. And we used to live up in Minot, North Dakota, which is just south of Canada. And so it's the Arctic tundra, it's freezing, winter is awful. You get snow drifts as high as your house. And all you want to do is bundle up and cuddle up under a blanket and stuff like that. And so the thing is what can I do right now? What can I do today? Can I, if I write down one thing I'm grateful for and allow myself just a few minutes to feel that gratefulness, then that's one shift. It's one moment. It's one moment of feeling that joy and that happiness and being engulfed in it, and then being proud of yourself for giving yourself that moment. And so you kind of find out when you're in that season of, I'm just done. I'm over it all. F it. I'm done. When you find yourself there and you can actually give yourself credit for those small moments, for those, I smiled and I hugged my kid and I was really in that moment. When you can give yourself credit for those little things start to compound. And over time, they build more momentum, they build more impact, they build more power, and you kind of feel yourself start to shift. And that's when you start shifting your nervous system, your unconscious, kind of everything. And so it's really all in small moments, which is funny because I'm seeing on LinkedIn now, I'm seeing tons of posts and everyone uses the same picture. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's an image of like shot glasses with like espresso or something in them. And one is 100% full, and the next is like little bitty drops and then half full. And they're kind of all over the place. And, it's not, consistency is not showing up 100% every single day. It's showing up when it's hard. And it's showing up when it's hard and it's going to be hard when you roll out of bed and you're like, today is going to suck, but I'm still going to show up and I'm going to take a step. I'm going to choose to see one good thing. You know what I mean?
There is a lot of honoring yourself in where you are at the point. I think it's what I'm hearing and what I love about what you're saying is, it's not about, again, stopping and not doing anything and going all in on self-care and only doing, wellness and self-care and self-love and relaxing things. But it is about adjusting those things and acknowledging, like, today I'm on 50%. Today, like, if I can go and have a shower, it's a success in my books, and but I know it's not going to be every single day, and I'm not going to just wallow in the fact that today was just a shower day. I'm gonna take it as it is.
Yeah, it's so funny to me because here in the United States, it's like women think that bubble bath with the candles in my romance novel, or whatever, that's self-care. And it's so funny to me because I hate bubble baths. I hate them. Right? I don't like sitting in the hot water just kind of feeling like soup or something. It's weird to me. I don't like it. I've never really enjoyed it. And so it's funny to me when people are like, "Oh, I can't wait to go take a hot bath." And I'm like, "Oh, why?" And some people, a massage is that self-care in that moment, or a mani-pedi, like something like that. And for me, those things don't give me the lasting joy. It's kind of just for the moment. And the part of the problem is a lot of people, while they're even doing that thing, while they're, getting a massage or getting a mani-pedi, something like that, their head is somewhere else. And so they're not even enjoying that moment. They're not taking that moment. They're not letting their bodies recover because they're on to the next thing. And that's where a lot of it comes in making sure that you are present so that we can build the calmness. You can let your mind slow down, and then that's when clarity starts to come too. So when you're overthinking and you're like, what about this and this, if you can just tell your mind for a second, like, you know what, later. Oh, later, I'll deal with this later. This is for after lunch me. This is for me tomorrow. This is a future Hayden's problem. That's what I tell myself. And when you can do that and you can allow yourself to be present in the moment, it's so funny because that's when like this clarity comes, this clarity of, oh, I had spent hours thinking about this thing and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get it to work. It was, it drains your energy. It does all the things to you. And then When you step away, you gain that clarity, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that was easy. All I had to do was this one thing, and it takes you 5 minutes to fix. You're not spending the hours that you have been. And it's so funny to me because the just building in presence into your system is so powerful. And I love your cat. And it's funny because people have lost the ability to be present and to allow themselves to slow down enough to be present, to enjoy a moment and not think about 10 steps down the road, especially the women I work with. Oh my gosh, they do this to themselves over and over and over again, where they have to be the perfect mom and they have to be the perfect employee and the perfect wife and the perfect daughter, friend, all these things. And so there's so much pressure to be all the things that they don't just give themselves that moment of pleasure, of smile, of being, of joy with their kids, with the mom, look at me for the millionth time in a row. Like I remember I used to get so annoyed with my kids. I'd be like, I've seen it. I've seen it 1,000 times. You've done the same thing 1,000 times. And now I can look at it as just them. They're playing. They want mom's attention. They just want to show off. And it's so cute and funny to me now that I can be fully into it. But, I sadly I missed years of my kids doing that stuff because I was so burnt out and I was so focused on work and my head was always in a million different places that I couldn't be there for my kids. I couldn't be there in that moment and laugh and be joyful with them, or even get up and join them with this dance that they want to show me. So, yeah, it's crazy where we can go with burnout.
But it's also sounds like a lot of guilt and a lot of this shoulding. I should complete this list. I should do this. I should be this. I should. And Lenka and I often talk about shoulding all over yourself. And then, with the shoulding comes this guilt is, oh, I should be 100%. I should be doing this. And then you feel guilty because you're not doing it. And then it's finding that, getting rid of that guilt and just like, okay, it's not going to happen today. It's a slow day today. And especially as women, I mean, we live our lives in cycles, and we reminded of the cycle every month, and you have your energetic days and you have days where it's just like, this isn't going to happen. Just be grateful I got out of bed. Just be grateful that I'm having a cup of coffee and I can have a coherent conversation, and this is about all I can handle for today. And then that shoulding comes in. Yeah, yes, but yesterday I was like this, and I had my list of what I had to do today, and therefore I should be doing it because it should get done. And then there's that guilt instead of just stepping back and thinking, well, actually, it's the time of the month when I'm just got less energy, and instead of shoulding is maybe just making a list. So those I should be doing, it's like, okay, I'll put that on my list for when I have full energy, because then a week later you're like the energizer bunny, I can do this, and that's when you do all those activities for when you are feeling slower. And as self-employed, or it's easier to find that balance. But when you're employed, you obviously, you got to turn up at work at 9, you got to be productive. 5 o'clock, you're done. Then you go home and you're now starting your home life in a way. And then it's how do you find that balance of the slow days and just not being as productive, especially if you're in an employed situation where not all bosses want you to hear, well, listen, I'm having a slow day.
Yeah.
It's that time of the month, or you know what, it's just not gonna happen. They're not interested, they don't care. And it's usually a man you might have to explain this to, and I'm sure I've had this experience, and I'm sure many of our women listeners have had this experience. Ah, it's just your time of the month. Stop being such a drama queen. Oh, just deal with it. What's wrong with you? You get this attitude. So how would you help clients who are employed and they have this boss, or this they need to be productive, but the last thing they feel is productive? Their brain is most probably not firing on all cylinders because it's just slowing down. I mean, also women in perimenopause and menopause, your brain also just totally goes haywire and doesn't function when you want it to function. How What would you recommend for our listeners and your clients? How do you deal with being employed when you know that you are tired, you are slow, but you don't want to get to the point of burnout?
Yep.
How can you balance that?
So it's funny to me because so you bringing this up, I just a few days ago I was watching a podcast or something, and it was Jeff Bezos talking about how he manages his time. And I thought it was amazing because he talks about, and we're talking about I think he's a billionaire now, right? But he was talking about he has putter time in the morning where he putts around. And he's like, that's non-negotiable time. It is my non-negotiable. I get it every day. My kids know it. My wife knows it. Everybody knows this is my putter time. And he's very deliberate around that time. And he has his coffee, he gets some reading in, and he kind of shuffles around in his slippers and he does all this stuff. And then what he does is he separates his day into high IQ and low IQ. And so his morning, because he knows he's most productive in the morning, his morning meetings are his high IQ meetings. So things that take a lot of processing power and thinking, those are his morning meetings. Things that he can be like, let's talk about this tomorrow. Let's push this off. He does those meetings in the afternoon. And I thought that was fantastic because it's someone who manages around his energy. And I do something quite similar. I know that by the end of the week, every week, Thursday, Friday, my energy starts dropping. So that's when I schedule my fun things. So like this podcast being on a Thursday, these are my fun things that I love doing. I love engaging with people, and I love any of my fun projects. I plan them later in the week because Monday, Tuesday, those are my high power, I'm focused, I'm in it days. So that's when I do the work I don't really want to do, but I know I need to. And then my fun days are my reward for what I get done. Or if I don't get something done on Monday, Tuesday, I can shift my Thursday, Friday, and kind of push those things to like the weekend or something. But that's how I manage my time. And women I know that are in corporate environments, places where they don't get so much to schedule things like that. I have women who have done like open office times. So from like 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., they have an open office. So all of their employees know that they can go talk to her during that time. It's like an open door policy. So I've seen things like that where women plan their energy kind of accordingly to that. But some women, like maybe that time needs to be later in the day because they're like, but you can plan those intentional times throughout your day. And when you get that pressure from bosses, people who are, deadline, you can arrange things within your schedule so that you're like, you know what, this is my focus today. I know that you need that, but this thing is higher priority, and that's where my focus is right now. And that's where I've blocked my time off right now. So if this is more important than that, I can shift, but you have to let me know that this is more important than that. And so opening that communication with bosses, employees, coworkers, and different people like that, and letting them know I'm focusing on this. This is how my week was planned. I had to organize everything around meetings and obligations and all of these things. And so this is where my focus is this week. Can we push that to next week? So if you can verbalize where your focus is versus my energy is low. Because people don't take that very well in the corporate world. And where I am right now, there's a lot of Department of Defense work, military, things like that. And I used to be military. And so you can't really walk in and go, hey guys, my energy is really low today. So I'm going to be taking it easy. I know you can't do that in the corporate world, but what you can do is be intentional with how you block out your calendar and your days. And so you can plan around when you know your energy is going to be low. Like for me, I don't, I think I'm going through perimenopause, but but I don't pay attention to it, so I'm not fully aware. So, but I can tell you, you know, around my cycle, um, it ebbs and flows. It's really interesting because I know a lot of women who can, right before my cycle, I get really low energy, and that's not consistent with me personally. And so I plan based on my week with the higher energy at the end of the week, well, lower energy at the end of the week with things I want to do. So that I'll still do it. So it's really about knowing your body, how you work, and working with your intention. Like I see these things all the time of like the 6 daily habits that you need for a fantastic life. Do these 6 things every day, you know, and there are posts and stuff everywhere. And it's like, oh, you know, and by the end of it, you've got a check mark list of 90 things you're supposed to do every single day. And it's like, that's overwhelming in itself. You can't do that. And so knowing yourself, being present and self-aware enough to know how your energy ebbs and flows and how you can work that into a daily calendar and a schedule is really where the power is. That's where the empowerment and the confidence comes from. I used to have to do that quite a bit with my schedule when I was in corporate America, because it was like I very, I had to be very conscious of how my time was scheduled and when I would have to interact with certain people. And so there would be times where it was like, I don't want to deal with this person. And so I'd plan in like 10, 15 minutes prior to that meeting of like breathing, like prep work for my interaction with that person. And you can do things like that, you know, and you can do micro resets. And I have a lot of women nurses in particular. So nurses go constantly, right? They don't get a break. They're on their feet. They're doing all these things. So they don't get 10, 15 minutes to just sit. They can't plan that into their day. But what they can do is they can, every time I walk by this desk, or every time I walk through a particular doorway, I take a breath, and they start building in those cues for a micro reset where it's like deep exhale through this doorway, deep exhale past that counter, deep exhale by this patient or, you know, whoever. And when they start making that a habit pattern, that's when their body starts relaxing and working a little bit better with the day. So yeah, that's that's how I manage time and energy. So